This is about the Amiga 500, released in 1987. It was far ahead against its time. Um, let's reset the Amiga. It's gonna load. It had up to 1 megabyte of memory. It's currently loading. This is the workbench, new command line interface. This is the new CR. At this time, it was a revolutionary operating system. It had colors, it had more than Microsoft ever could offer. Now we're gonna load the solar system. The most common thing about myth about Amiga operating system is that there was no scientific software available. However, the contrary is the thing. There is so much educational software for the Amiga in 1988, 1989 behind imagination. So I have found, for example, the solar system. I remember at the time I did see I did see I did see a Microsoft personal computer, and it was so incredibly expensive, and it was nothing compared to this. In this software, you have an index. It's educational. It can show you images. In the 1990 personal computer, at that time, it was incredibly unpayable. Let's go back to the index. I learned a few things about this. Let's go down. You can see this is educational software, and there are thousands of educational software similar like this. But let's start exploring, for example, the helium flash of the sun. I've uploaded these free diskettes as Amiga ADF files, and I've included them in the description. Now let's go. Let's go back to the 1990s, 1991, for example. You visit a solar system observation with telescopes, and the Microsoft products of micro programs based running on MS-DOS were nothing compared to this. It is extremely doubtful that any creators will view this site. If as a species we have finally got our act together, one of our future space probes may relay pictures to one of humanity's new homes in the cosmos. Next, the sun will rapidly swell and brighten to become a red giant star. Within about 250 million years, about 2% of its then 12 billion years of age, it should expand to 100 times its present size and grow 500 times more luminous, despite a temperature drop to about 3,500 Kelvin from the lava seas covering the now molten Earth. The sun's looming dull red disk will fill nearly the entire sky. Now we get a really dramatic event which occurs when the core temperature has reached about 100 million Kelvin, enough to ignite the helium. As the helium burns, it's transformed in carbon and oxygen, liberating the excess nuclear binding energy as heat. Just as the hydrogen once did, the helium ignition occurs very suddenly, and calculations indicate this helium flash should produce shock waves that blast as much as a third of the sun's body off into space. During this brief, but it's loading. Remember, this software was available in 1990. Personal computers had absolutely nothing at the time. It's a dramatic episode. The temperature of the core shot to some 300 million Kelvin, then cooled to about 100 million Kelvin, after which the sun should continue to burn atom steadily. Thereafter, the sun will evolve in ways that are not easy to calculate, largely because the amount of mass ejected in helium flash is uncertain. We do know it should probably become more luminous once again, approaching but not quite reaching its maximum brightness as the red giant, and its surface should become hotter, appearing orange red for a second time throughout its career as a giant star. The sun or sun is also destined to continue losing mass. This is due to both the gravity 10 years old when the sun expands to such a large size and to the pressure exerted by the flow of radiation from such a luminous star. The very strong solar wind will rob the sun of mass even behind what was lost in helium flash. The outer layers will gradually dissipate until the massive and dense core itself is exposed. A dim white hot sphere is no bigger than Earth, with a surface temperature of perhaps 10,000 Kelvin. That is a little around 10,000 Celsius degrees. Imagine if people could have only known that so much educational software was available. Now let's go further. At this point, also to record these events, we will need to be many light years away. Having found new suns to orbit will have become a white dwarf, similar to the many that astronomers have already discovered and identified as endpoints of stellar evolution. The white dwarf sun will be a bizarre object, despite its small size. Remember, the star, your sun you see every day, it will become the size of the planet Earth. It should contain about half the sun's present mass, equivalent to 100,000 Earths. Not eventually. Its density, about 2 million grams per cubic centimeter, will equal that obtained by compression that goes into a thimble. Once the white dwarf state is reached, it appears the action is over. We think the sun will cool over many billions of years, eventually radiating away the heat still stored inside it. Its ultimate fate will probably be to circle around the galaxy as a black dwarf. What is a black dwarf? Perhaps still accompanied by the remnants of the planet it once warmed. So spending money on space exploration might not be a bad thing after all. But back to the present to see what we know about the present day solar system and what are we doing to explore it. The sun's ultimate fate is found more or less than 100,000 Earths. At this time in the 1990s, at payable home computer 16-bit systems, there was no hyperlinks existing. Here should have been hyperlinks. There should have been hyperlinks. Let's go further. So this is about planet Mercury. You can see from when I press a button, the software that I did see in 1991 came nowhere close. Let's go back to the index, for example. It does contain not errors considered at this time, but it does contain things as people knew at that time. Mariner 9 is for an example a spaceship comparable to a small Voyager. Double launch for NASA and the two spacecraft safely at their destination in July and August 1969. Now imagine, in this year, the moon landing happened. In the moon landing. At that time, they were sending spaceships to planets in the solar system. I'm looking for Mars. For example, the personal computer that I did see in 1991, that was very expensive, unpayable, had nothing like this. You might think this is a simple image. However, in 1991, the technology was unpayable for personal computers, especially Microsoft related products. But this contains a lot of things about Mars, for example. As considered, this is based on every knowledge known about the planets in our solar system in the 1980s. It became available, and this is not the only educational software that did exist for the Amiga 500. For example, a personal computer at that time to display only this image, which I here surround by the arrow, it was simply behind budget for schools. Now, you imagine why did people did not know about the existence of so much educational software? Why did they not know? Look, this software is from 1990. At that time, I really cannot emphasize, look, this is a fully multitasking operating system. At that time, especially 1987, why did people did not know of how much educational software was available? I uploaded this abandonware. It describes entire solar system as considered in the 1980s, although it is released in the years of 1990. Now, let's move this again. That is the typical floppy disk sound. Let's show you. At those days, Microsoft was nothing. Why did people did not know of the existence of so much educational software? It's a really tragedy. It's really tragic. This was payable for kids. Kids could have had this in the 1990s, like Voyager at the rings. Let's go to Voyager. At a distance of some 50,000 miles, 80,450 kilometers, on examining the ring system, Voyager 2 quickly found 2 more rings to add to the 9 already discovered. It also reaffirmed you can start up any Amiga like system with the ADF files I uploaded and explore this software yourself. This is only an artist's impression of Voyager 2. Remember, in 1990, a PC to display this kind of technology, you should consider around $5,000 at least, and with inflation, that you can calculate the amount of inflation. Now, what did Microsoft write? Microsoft hid the fact that there existed operating systems. No, not only that, Microsoft hid the fact that there was so much educational software. There was so much educational software behind imagination. Look, English, math, algebra, about the Second World War, spelling like school, Galileo, another related software, just for fun, karaoke for kids. There was so much software available in the educational spectrum, like Math Doctor, for example, like calculating or Math Wizard. Math Wizard was available in 1986 in a multitasking operating system. Microsoft did so much damage to the entire software industry. And yes, the judge Thomas Penfield Jackson did eventually come to the conclusion and eventually Microsoft did set the software industry for decades. Well, if it were not decades, Microsoft did set software industry back for at least a decade. That's absolutely sure of that. And Microsoft was able to make people believe no educational software did exist for the Amiga 500, for example. There's also the Archimedes, popular in the United Kingdom. But where was the software? How did Microsoft hide the existence of the educational software? This is only disk-free, for example. Now, everything from math to spelling, including learning Spanish language, everything was available in far behind Microsoft took over. I will close this, cancel. I'm now back in. As you can see, 1 megabyte of memory was at that time considered large. The success of Microsoft might have been to simply hide the existence of educational software, of operating systems, for operating systems that were at that time far more superior. Humanity, future on Earth. My personal opinion about humanity is listen to songs like Heal the World, Make It a Better Place, or No More War from Michael Jackson, or No More War, Please from Bronski Beat. As the intelligent inhabitants of Earth, we have to observe its habitats, study its resources, and come to terms with the ever-increasing problems of population and pollution. What causes pollution? War causes pollution. Since humanity lives in here and now, we should rather be busy as a human species in the here and now. Heal the world and make it a better place, like Michael Jackson in his famous song did sing. Mankind cannot look even perhaps 500 or 1,000 years ahead. We are living for the as humans in the here and now. As a species, we had better shape up because of for present performance, we may reach the planets of the solar system, but not the stars. Now, although this software says that we, the humans, mankind, will not reach the stars, I cannot be absolutely sure. Yes, I cannot be sure of that. That is what I can only assure. It is not sure that other star systems are behind the reach of the human. However, at here and now, we have to live and survive at planet Earth. We will see whether the United Nations meetings produce an internationally agreed management plan for Earth's survival. Now, you live in here and now. Oh, it's time to go. Bye. It's recording.